I'm 90, and this is the secret to a happy life. Everybody wants to know the secret. I'm 90 years old, and people ask me the same question everywhere I go. How did you live this long? How are you still smiling? How are you still happy? They expect me to say olive oil, or wine, or walking every morning. And yes, I do all of that. But that's not the secret. You want to know the secret? Come closer. It took me almost 90 years to understand this. The secret is not what happens to you. The secret is that you choose. Every single day, you choose. Joy is not something that suddenly finds you one morning. Joy is something you decide to carry even when life gives you reasons not to. Most people never learn this. They wait. They wait for the right job, the right person, the right moment. And many of them spend their whole lives waiting. I didn't wait. I decided. That's why I'm still here. Still laughing. Still grateful to open my eyes every morning. And before you think I had an easy life, let me tell you what I lived through. My mother died when I was 5 years old. Tuberculosis. I remember her coughing into a handkerchief. I remember the smell of medicine. I remember the silence in the house after she was gone. When you lose your mother that young, you learn something early. Life doesn't promise you fairness. A few years later, my father brought me to America. We arrived with almost nothing. No English, no safety, no comfort. I was still a child sleeping on the floor with too many people in one room. By the time I was 10, I was already working beside my father making shoes. My fingers bled. I didn't complain. That was life. Then I met my first wife, Anna Maria, the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Black hair, green eyes, a voice that could calm a room. We had 9 years together. Only 9. One afternoon, she went up to the roof to hang laundry. A brain aneurysm. She was gone before she hit the ground. She was 28. I was 31. I had 2 children in my arms and no idea how to continue living. Years later, when I thought I had finally built something solid, my shop burned down. Everything I worked for over decades disappeared in one night. I stood on the sidewalk and watched my life turn into smoke. I remember thinking, this is it. This is where I give up. So don't tell me about hard times. I know hard times. But here is what I also know. Hard times don't have to make you hard. That's the first lesson. You don't get to choose what happens to you, but you do get to choose what it turns you into. After my wife died, I chose anger. For a while, I was angry at God, angry at life, angry at everyone. I became a man my children were afraid of. I yelled. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. One night, my daughter, she was still very young, came to me crying. She asked Papa, "Why are you so angry? Did I do something wrong?" That question broke me. She had lost her mother, and now she thought she was losing her father too. That night, I made a decision. I said to myself, you can be angry, or you can be a father. You cannot be both. Anna Maria didn't marry an angry man. She married a man who made her laugh. So I chose to be that man again. Not because the pain disappeared. It didn't. I carried that sadness for years, but I refused to let it be the only thing my children saw. They were going to see joy too. They were going to see a father who chose life. And that brings me to something important. Pain is real. Loss is real. I will never tell you to pretend it doesn't hurt. It hurts. Feel it. But after that, you choose what comes next. No one else can make that choice for you. Years later, something unexpected happened. I was 70 years old. I hadn't been with a woman in decades. I went to a church gathering for one reason only: the food. And across the room I saw her. She was laughing. And when she laughed, her entire face lit up. I remember thinking, that is the most beautiful thing I've seen in a very long time. Her name was Gloria. She was a retired nurse. She was strong. She was kind. When I walked over to talk to her, the room went quiet. An old Italian man and a black woman in Brooklyn. People stared. Even my own son stopped speaking to me after I married her. He said I was embarrassing the family, that people were talking. I told him the truth. I said I spent most of my life alone. I'm old. I found someone who makes me laugh. If people don't like it, they don't have to live my life. That's lesson number 2. Stop living for other people's opinions. Other people's words only hurt you if you carry them. Gloria and I had more than 30 years together. 30 years of laughter. 30 years of peace. She passed away in her sleep. I held her hand all night. I miss her every day. But she would be angry with me if I stopped laughing. She would tell me we were lucky. And she'd be right. Now you want to know what makes me happy today. Small things. Coffee in the morning, sunlight through the window, my great-grandchild calling me just to say hello. Good bread. Music from my homeland. A warm bed. A stranger smiling at me on the street. That's my whole list. I don't need more. And here is the secret, inside the secret. I could have lived like this at 40, at 50, but I was too busy chasing things that didn't matter. Lesson number 3. Happiness is not waiting for you at the end of the road. It's not waiting in money or success or approval. It's already here. You just have to notice it. So, tonight, when this video ends, stop for a moment. Look around. Find 3 small things you're grateful for. Not big things. Small ones. Practice that every day. I'm 90 years old. I lost my mother young. I lost my wife. I lost my work. I lost people I loved. I could have been bitter. Instead, I chose joy. Because the alternative is wasting the time I have left. Life is not perfect, but it is beautiful. And you only get one. So stop waiting. Choose joy now, while you still can. You know what surprises me most at this age? It's not how fast time passed. It's how much time I wasted fighting things I could never control. For years, I argued with the past. I replayed conversations that were already over. I asked questions that would never be answered. Why her? Why that day? Why me? And every one of those questions stole something from me. Sleep, peace, time. Nobody tells you this when you're young. Pain demands attention, but suffering is optional. Pain shows up once. Suffering shows up every day. You keep reopening the wound. I didn't understand that until much later. When you're young, you think life is long. You think you'll fix things later. You think you'll be happy once everything settles down. But life doesn't settle down. It keeps moving. And one day you look around and realize decades are gone. That's when regret starts whispering. It tells you what you should have said, who you should have loved better, what you should have let go of sooner. I hear those whispers too. I just don't let them stay. Because regret is just another way of refusing to choose joy. At 90, I've learned something simple. Most of the things we worry about never happen. Most of the things that do happen don't destroy us. And the ones that hurt the most eventually soften if you let them. Joy doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without bleeding. I remember my mother's face. I remember my first wife's laugh. I remember the smell of my shop before the fire. Those memories still ache sometimes. But they also remind me that I loved deeply. And that is not a weakness. People ask me if I'm afraid now. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of the end. I tell them the truth. I'm not afraid. I've already lived through the hardest parts. I've already buried people I thought I couldn't live without. And somehow I'm still here. What scares me is wasting another day being angry. Another day being bitter. Another day pretending tomorrow is guaranteed. Because it's not. That's why I wake up the way I do. Not rushing. Not complaining. I sit for a moment. I breathe. I notice that I'm still here. And then I choose how I'm going to meet the day. Some days that choice is easy. Some days it takes effort. But I make it anyway. Because joy is not a feeling that shows up on its own. It's a discipline. A quiet decision you repeat even when nobody sees it. Especially then. If there's one thing I want you to understand, it's this. You don't need a perfect life to choose joy. You just need the courage to stop postponing it. Don't wait for less pain. Don't wait for better timing. Don't wait for permission. Look at what's still in your hands. This breath, this moment, this day. That's enough. At 90, I can tell you this with certainty. Life doesn't owe you happiness, but it gives you the chance to choose it. Every single morning. And that chance is more precious than anything you're chasing. People think joy is loud. They think it's laughter in a room full of people. Big moments, big wins. But at this age, I can tell you something different. Joy is quiet. It shows up when nobody is watching. When the house is still. When the noise of the world finally steps back. It's the moment you realize you survived another hard chapter. Not stronger, not smarter, just still here. When you've lived long enough, you stop asking life to impress you. You stop demanding explanations. You accept that some questions don't have answers. Some losses don't come with lessons. Some pain simply exists. And that acceptance does something powerful. It frees you. I wasted many years trying to understand why things happened the way they did, why good people leave early, why effort doesn't always get rewarded, why love doesn't guarantee permanence. Now I know. Why doesn't matter as much as how you live after, how you speak to people when you're tired, how you treat yourself when you fail, how you show up after disappointment. Those small decisions shape your life far more than any big plan. At 90, I don't think about what I want to become anymore. I think about who I want to be today. Patient or rushed, kind or sharp, present or distracted. Those are choices, and they matter more than people realize. I've watched people collect money and lose their families. I've watched people chase respect and lose their peace. I've watched people protect their pride and end up alone. They weren't bad people. They were just busy. Busy, postponing joy. That's the real tragedy. Not loss, not failure, but delay. Delay turns life into a waiting room. And no one knows how long they'll be sitting there. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't tell him to work less. I wouldn't tell him to avoid pain. I'd tell him this: stop treating happiness like a reward you earn later. Stop believing life will finally calm down before you allow yourself to feel alive. It won't. Life stays messy. Even at 90, your body slows down. Your world gets smaller. Names disappear. Faces fade. But something else grows. Clarity. You see what mattered and what never did. Nobody remembers the arguments you won. They remember how you made them feel safe, seen, loved. That's the part that lasts. That's why I still choose joy. Not because everything turned out right. It didn't. Not because I stopped losing people. I didn't. I choose joy because bitterness asks for too much. It demands your energy, your attention, your remaining time. And I don't have time to waste anymore. Neither do you. If you're listening to this right now, you're still early. Earlier than you think. You still have days that can change direction. Conversations you can soften. Moments you can notice before they disappear. Don't wait until you're my age to understand this. Joy doesn't arrive. It's invited. You invite it when you stop fighting what already happened, when you stop negotiating with the past, when you stop living as if tomorrow is promised. This moment is enough. This breath is enough. And choosing joy doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means refusing to let pain make your decisions. That's the difference. That's the secret people miss. So let me tell you how my days end now. Not with plans, not with regret, not with lists of what I should have done differently. They end quietly. I sit. I think about the people who are no longer here, not with sadness, but with gratitude. I had them, even for a moment. That matters more than how it ended. At 90, you don't count years anymore. You count mornings. Mornings you wake up without pain. Mornings you recognize the face in the mirror. Mornings you still care. And every one of those mornings begins the same way for me. I open my eyes. I take a breath, and I say, thank you. Not because life was kind. It wasn't. Not because everything worked out. It didn't. I say thank you because I'm still here to choose. That's what people misunderstand. Joy is not optimism. It's not pretending things are fine. Joy is courage. The courage to wake up and say, I'm still alive. What am I going to do with that today? Some days the answer is simple. Drink coffee. Listen to music. Smile at a stranger. Some days the answer is harder. Forgive someone who never apologized. Let go of something you loved. Accept that this chapter is closed. But every day there is an answer, and every day you get to choose it. I've lost more than most people my age, and still I wouldn't trade my life. Because it taught me this. Happiness is not something you find at the end. It's something you practice along the way, quietly, daily, without applause. And if there's one thing I want to leave you with, it's this. Don't wait until you're old to understand what I'm telling you now. Don't wait for less pain. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for permission. You don't need a different life to choose joy. You need a different decision. Make it today. While you're still here to make it, that's the secret.